Hey guys, Bible in a Year, Job, episode 153. Subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Please comment as well. What a book. Going to get into a little bit more Elihu today. And technically 34 to 38. Chapter 38, God starts to speak, but I'm going to say this out of the chute. We are not going to talk about God speaking today. We're going to move all that to the final episode tomorrow. So while your reading is 34 through 38 today, we're just going to look at 34 to 37, and tomorrow we'll look at 38 till the end. But here we go, guys. Join us inside. This is going to be a great conversation. Okay, guys, there you go. Episode 153. We are looking at Job 34 to 38 today in our reading, 34 to 37 in our discussion. How you doing there, Pastor Bob?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, we get to talk a little bit more about Elihu today. You know, I mean, the kids were just they're not kids, they're grown. But, you know, they're teasing me that I'm so hard on Elihu. And when I was, saying yesterday, you always see the best in everyone, both of us acknowledge two things. One, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Absolutely.
That includes you and I.
Yes, sir.
And we should find redeeming qualities in everyone. So I'm not sure either one of us are wrong, and I think both of us are probably right. He makes a lot of mistakes, though, doesn't he?
He does.
Like you mentioned as we were getting ready to start this, you have lots of notes and lots of highlights in this section about, just areas where Elihu gets it wrong. Maybe give us some things as we finish up Elihu's kind of talk.
God has no need to examine people further. Verse 23 there.
Of chapter 34?
Of 34. They should come before him with judgment. Yeah. Now, God has every reason to examine people further. God sees the potential in us. He made us. He created us. He constantly wants to examine us and refine us and mold us into who He created us to be. It's not a one and done. Well, you're a lost cause, That's not how God approaches it.
Absolutely not. It's funny. I have that same exact note in my Bible. Another section that I find that Elihu gets it wrong is 34, 10 through 15. So listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God to do evil, from the Almighty to do wrong. Okay, yeah, you're right on that. Here we go.
Verse 11.
He repays everyone for what they've done. Yeah. Does he now? He brings on them what their conduct deserves. Like if you can learn one thing in the book of Job, it's that verse 11 is wrong.
Absolutely.
It's wrong.
We got mercy, not what we deserve.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
He repays everyone for what they've done. He brings on them what their conduct deserves. It's grace upon grace that we've received.
Yeah.
Now, we don't sin that grace may abound. Certainly not, right. Paul says.
Absolutely.
At the same time, it's what we said at the beginning of this. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And if that's the case, then we deserve judgment in terms of destruction. But that's the whole point of Jesus.
Absolutely.
Job understands that at some level. Elihu's just not
He's not there.
Yeah. He's just not there. You look at Elihu's characterization of Job, verses 34 through 37 of chapter 40. Of chapter 34. Mm-hmm. Men of understanding declare, wise men who hear me say to me, Job speaks without knowledge. His words lack insight. Oh, that Job might be tested to the utmost for answering like a wicked man. To his sin he adds rebellion. Scornfully he claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. What? I mean, what? And when were you having conversations? Men of understanding declare, wise men who hear me say to me. Who? Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar? Is that who you're talking about? Or were you talking about Job before you ever got there? Were you buzzing in the local pub? Were you in the marketplace saying, oh, did you guys hear what happened to Job? Well, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I mean, so who were you talking to, Elihu, before you got there? And that's what you've come up with? Well, you haven't spent much time with God, and you haven't spent much time with Job, or else you would know.
But he's a man of knowledge.
Oh, yes, he certainly is, isn't he? Take a look, too, guys, chapter 35, verses 6 through 8. Elihu is incorrect again, okay? If you sin, how does that affect God? If your sins are many, what does that do to God? If you're righteous, what do you give to him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness only affects humans like yourself, and your righteousness only other people. It breaks the heart of God when we sin.
But we bring him joy.
Oh my gosh.
Everything we do affects God. We can bring him joy as easily as break his heart. He rejoices with it. He laughs with us. He cries with us. Everything affects God. It's not just us.
Yeah, Elihu's just so wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong. I agree. He's wrong.
I mean, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 14 other things. Verse 4 of 36. Be assured that my words are not false. Really?
Perfect knowledge.
One who has perfect knowledge is with you. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Our knowledge is so extremely finite that how can we even come close to saying, I have a great understanding? So much what I've said to so many people over the years is the more I read and study, the more I see how much I don't know. My lack of knowledge.
This is why I struggle with Elihu so much. I mean, yeah, I guess he's trying. Yes, he's present. I mean, he seems to want to somehow know God, but he is not in charge of any of this.
I kind of look at Elihu like a young child today who is struggling for some independence. A lot of young ones think that they have all the knowledge they need to get by in life, that they know everything they need to know, when in fact they really don't know much about life at all. That's kind of how I see him.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when I listen to younger people, and I mean, they've got some great perspectives, but a lot of the time I'm like, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Yep. So maybe you should just be quiet.
I think that's where he is.
Well, and this is part of what I love about Job here. Job just lets him talk.
Yeah.
Job literally just lets him talk, and it's just talking into the wind.
Well, apparently God does too.
I mean, it's awful. Verse 11, 36. If they obey and serve him, they'll spend the rest of their days in prosperity and their years in contentment.
Prosperity gospel.
What? I mean, what? This is why when anybody says prosperity gospel, I'm like, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You do not know
absolutely
what you're talking about in any way whatsoever.
And he shares more of that view.
How about verse 21 of 36? Beware of turning to evil, which you seem to prefer to affliction.
Yeah.
What? I mean, there's just so much here that I'm just like, dude, you are a mess. I mean, you are an absolute mess. And then when you look at 36:22 through 37:24, Elihu improperly characterizes God and God's creation and creation's response. And the funny thing is here, ironically enough, as Elihu's monologue concludes, God begins to truthfully speak concerning himself. So you look down here, 36:22, all the way down through 37. Yeah, it's like, okay, so like verse 14, summary statement. Listen to this, Job. Stop and consider God's wonders. And then what does God immediately do? Elihu, sit down and let me tell you about my wonders. I don't need you to speak for me. I mean, this whole section, with Elihu, it's why I get so frustrated with the whole thing. God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed his ways for him? And it just keeps going down, 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 down through. And he's trying to do in this final section what God does quite well for himself as he begins to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're going to get into what God says in tomorrow's kind of concluding episode, but tell me, how... this may not be a fair question because we didn't talk about this before, but I'm going to drop this bomb on you. When people, let me ask it like this. When people are trying to speak to those who are grieving, how do we very often mirror the attitude of Elihu?
We often speak in platitudes. They're in a better place now.
Oh, boy.
God needed them more in heaven than he did here, so he took them home.
Oh, I hate that statement.
That's how we approach it. We just speak in these platitudes and we give advice and as if we somehow have all the answers that people need, and if they'll just listen, they'll get through this. But it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. It's almost like they're patting us on the hand and saying, now listen to me. Listen to you about what?
I shared that at Stephen's funeral. People came up to Donna and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss," and gave her a hug and all of that. And then they stepped from her to beside me and say, "Now you need to be strong now because your family needs you more than ever." Not even acknowledging I had a loss too. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist. It's like they just come up with all of these platitude sayings, and there's no compassion. There's no presence.
Let me ask you a tough question. How do you guard against bitterness in a situation like that?
Fortunately for me, it was my faith in God that got me through that. Had I not been in Christ at that time, I think I would have handled it a whole lot worse.
And when you look at Job's response, I don't hear bitterness in what he's saying. I hear anger. I hear frustration.
And it's justifiable, yeah.
What's the difference between bitterness and anger and frustration?
I think bitterness is more seeking revenge, get even. I don't like what you're saying, and I'm going to prove you're wrong, and I'm going to get back at you for saying that. Whereas frustration is just building up, and the anger is saying, "Man, you just don't understand. I don't need you to talk to me like that. I don't need you to tell me what I need to do. Just be there for me. Be there with me. Cry with me. Give me a hug, whatever. But, I don't need all of these comments." And that's what I said. The key is just practicing the ministry of presence. Just be present. God will lead you where you need to go or what you need to say.
That's powerful.
But we have a tendency to want to fix it. And we think we can fix it. But we can't. We can't fix grief.
There's a hardness of heart to bitterness.
Yes.
And there's a softness to heart with anger and frustration. It's almost like you're still open. It's like you're fighting for relationship with God in one, and you're closing yourself off in the other. And at no time when I read Job do I ever think that Job, with his anger and his frustration, is closed off to God.
Oh, no, never.
I always see it, even disappointment. He's still open to God versus the bitter heart that just closes itself off and will not be talked to or spoken to.
And oftentimes when we're bitter, then that turns inward and we become very cynical and mean-spirited. and just lash out at people sometimes at no reason. I've seen that in so many people that would happen because they didn't work into their grief and work through it. They just turned it inward, and that bitterness takes over, and it's not a good thing, and it's really hard to recover from that.
It's so interesting because the characters in Job, you would think that those that are suffering, and I say that intentionally, those who are suffering from prosperity would have a little bit softer heart. But the one who is suffering is the one who has the softened heart. And it's just interesting. It's interesting when you look at it that way,
Yeah.
So anyways, well, guys, that brings us to a close today. I want to kind of stop this one just so we can get to the next one tomorrow in terms of God speaking, Job's very limited response,
Yeah.
God speaking,
Yeah.
God's request. Oh, my goodness.
That's powerful.
Oh. And then tomorrow, Bob, this will make me cry. I want to talk about restoration. That isn't full restoration yet. So, all right, guys, there you go. That finishes us up today. We're going to do the final section of Job tomorrow. What a study. I mean, honestly, we could have done this for 42 chapters. We could have had 42 episodes, and we still would not have touched the breadth of this great and glorious book.
You could easily make Job a full year study in and of itself.
Yeah, it's rich. It's rich. Okay, guys, God bless you. We will see you tomorrow. Please hang with us on this. What a study. We conclude tomorrow. God bless you.